It's going to take about 10 episodes for me to iron out
The
all the
kinks.
little things.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
say by episode 20 you kind of find your stride,
Yeah.
and I certainly did outside.
Right.
But when I moved inside, I'm not starting from scratch, but there's definitely been some challenges, and I had some bad luck with my camera.
Of course. Yeah.
I had two bad cameras.
Two of them?
Not two bad cameras, two cameras that just broke, wouldn't turn on.
That's nuts.
So
Yeah. Did you drop them or something? Or like
no,
what?
but I did buy used, so you're gonna get that a little bit.
Well, you bought one new one, didn't you?
I did, and that's a new one.
The new one. Okay.
And it's got the fancy lens.
Yeah.
So can we talk about equipment prices?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because just based off that,
Yeah.
How much money have you spent on just equipment?
If I had to put a rough guess on it, like it'd be close to like 80 to 100. I'm not 100% on that. But it adds up in the little things. So like in my studio at home, I have a regular computer that I use to work off of and edit off of, and then I have one that's for backup just in case something happens, and then I got another one that's really just for show because I have a whole podcast set up myself, but I don't have time to do it.
I mean, it's a commitment.
It really is, yeah. But the money is in the gear. As an example, one of the cameras that I have, I just purchased it last year. It was $4,500, just the camera by itself. No lenses, nothing. One battery, and that's it. And then just to accessorize it and get it to work the way that I want it to work, I'm just going to guess around $8,000 is just for that one. That's my main A-roll camera.
And you're not talking software and
No. I've got probably close to $5,000 in software, and then the hardware to run the software is very expensive because like each computer, I think when I bought my iMac Pro, that's what I usually edit off of. It was like 30 something $100, 32-ish $100.
It just adds up so
it does, yeah. So I mean, just in those few items that I've mentioned there, you're looking at like $15,000.
Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go?
What's up, guys? Barrett Freeman here with another episode of the PropertyTales podcast. Thanks for joining me. Today, I've got a very special guest, Johnathan Ewing. He is a real estate photographer, among many things. But why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Johnathan Ewing, and I own a media production company. It's called Media Prime. And kind of along the same lines, we're actually partnered with Barrett's business partner, Ben Childers. And yeah, like you said, we kind of focus on real estate. We do a lot of real estate photography, but we're not limited to it.
And how'd you get into that?
Well, it's kind of coincidental. When I kind of got the bug of photography, I was still working a full-time job. I used to work at Toyota. So I kind of like heard about photography, and I was woodworking at the time. Kind of a little side thing there, but it eventually got to the point where I'd bought like a $1,500 camera. Now, this was like in 2018, 19, something like that. So very cheap for the modern times that we live in now. That same camera today is probably worth a lot more than that. But anyway, I bought this camera just to take pictures of the moon because I was fascinated with the moon and I wanted something to zoom in. So I had like I think it was like a 1,500 to 3,000 millimeter or some crazy number like that. And I could get some close pictures. But that's how I got into it. And then fast forward a little bit, I think I had started just practicing filmmaking because that's where I got Ben's attention. And I'd made a video for a friend of mine working at Toyota. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to go take some pictures at the Barrett Pinnacle. I don't know if you know where that's at or not.
I do,
but
yeah.
So we hiked up there, and I made this short little video. And out of nowhere, Ben kind of contacted me from that. And he's like, hey, have you ever shot real estate? And I'm like, no, not really. But I'll try it, try anything once.
Did it sound hard?
Not really, because I had made it past the stage of... So when I was younger, I used to be real shy and like inward. And, I didn't know I was an extrovert until I got older. Turns out I'm an extrovert, but Who knew?
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I'm out of the closet now. But fast forward a little bit, he says, can you do it? And I'm like, hey, I think I can do it. And he said, send me some examples. I'm like, okay. So I'll send you some examples. So I took some pictures just in my house. When I started, I just took one image, sent them to him. He's like, yeah, man, you're good. Everything looks level. The lines are straight, which is very important. We want to make sure that our corners are straight, that we're shooting in the corner to corner of the room, stuff like that. And he just threw me into the first job, And I remember the first realtor, I don't know if I should say names or not, but I guess it really
If
don't
it was a
matter.
good experience, then you should.
Yeah, so the first realtor I ever worked with was Amber Snell. She's based out of Richmond, Madison County. And I had no clue what I was doing, but I did the job. I got started. And it just kind of slowly, I think July of 2020 is when I started doing that with Ben. And then it slowly progressed into more and more work, over the years. And then we moved, which Ben's kind of done multiple things over his career. Me, not as much, but as I've worked more with Ben and we started doing like interviews and, various types of work, I've actually learned, and I started as a photographer, but I've actually learned that I prefer video more. And it worked out great, especially for now, because COVID really kind of pushed our media production into high gear, and like everybody's in media, I feel like nowadays.
Well, there's a huge appetite.
Yeah.
There was a
yeah.
huge appetite during COVID, and that's probably not slowed down any. I've not seen it.
No, it's not slowing down. I kind of think we've got a couple more decades of growth in the market, with media production. So me and Ben kind of hit it really early. And then me, I was already working, so it was a little harder for me. But what the benefit for me was, is I had so there was 3 guys that I used to ride with at Toyota. And those 3 guys, one would drive 1 week, I would drive 1 week, and then the other guy would drive. So I had 2 weeks to sit in the car for about an hour one way, so 2 hours per day of travel.
I see. It's a carpool setup.
Yeah, like a carpool. And I was taking that 2 hours every 2 weeks to learn the trade and learn how to do it. And then got into I started reading magazines and different things that were talking about the growth of media production and video and photography and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got started. And it's grown into something that I can't even contain it anymore.
What percentage of growth
now.
just year over year, last year to this year?
So the first year in 2020, I'd say about 50 jobs, maybe 30, 50 jobs. Ben could tell us the exact numbers, and maybe you could throw them on the screen here, but I would guess around 50, give or take. The second year, I doubled that. So it was over 100 that I did. And then the year after, which would have been 2023, I did probably quadruple that. I think me and Ben were doing the numbers the other day. I did 447, give or take, properties in 2023.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. That's just me. Now, that's not overall for all of Ben's stuff, but that's just what I've shot personally. In this year alone, in June, I shot approximately, give or take, 390 properties.
In 1 month?
From January to June. So
we've, because I've been working with you and Ben for the last 2 years, at first we would just maybe pick a special house and shoot it.
Right.
We've just turned the switch. If we've got a house, it's only $180, something like that. I'm not trying to quote the price.
Sure.
Whatever it is, it's worth it.
Anybody can look it up. It's on the website.
It's worth it. And so now, no matter what the house is, it's part of our process.
Yeah.
Get on the website, schedule professional photography.
Well, the one argument that I hear is, yes, it's expensive. I mean, $180 is not that high anymore. $200, $300, maybe $500 is a lot of money, but $180, that's not a lot of money. But if you think of it, you're giving, let's say, how long would it take you? 30 minutes to do that on your own, to go out and shoot those pictures with your iPhone. Not saying iPhone quality's horrible and that everybody's a horrible photographer, but if you dedicate that time to us, that frees you up 30 minutes. We shoot 5 of those for you a week. How many hours is that you've got back that you can put into something else? You can focus on your realtors. You can focus on the brokerage. You can focus on everything, the actual company, and you can let somebody else. And that took me a long time to figure out, let somebody else handle the minuscule tasks that you don't want to handle. And then
It's hard to let go of that stuff.
it is, yeah.
I'm struggling with that right now.
Yeah.
What's the 5-year plan?
5-year plan for me is to try to grow more towards the commercial talking head. And what I mean is kind of like what we're doing here. So more filming towards businesses and getting them on social media.
Because you have to.
You have to. There's so many companies right now that are not on social media, and I'm guilty of this myself. I have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the kit and caboodle, but I don't post.
And you had the highest produced TikTok stuff that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and
I'm big on TikTok as far as I use it personally.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like I death scroll,
Yeah.
but also I'm posting on there all the time.
Yeah, and that's good. It's not necessarily what you post, it's just that you're doing it consistently, and I'm guilty of not doing it.
You don't have the same pressure I do though to produce sales. Right now, real estate's so slow.
Yes.
Everybody's scraping and clawing to be heard.
Yes.
You probably, well, I don't want to make assumptions. Are you working as much as you want right now?
I could work more, to be
Okay.
honest with you. I'm currently going about 6 days a week, and I have to force myself to take a day, and that's family day. That's go shopping, family day for us, but go shopping, go out to eat, take a little breather, catch up on work that I missed, move files to long-term storage, the things that people don't see within a business structure like that. We then do it on my day off. But right now, currently, Ben would throw everything he could throw at me. But between Ben and my own thing, I'm doing 4 to 6, I'd say more like 4 to 5 jobs per day, properties and other types of work, but mostly properties. But I'd say it's like 4 or 5 per day, 6 days a week, which is just nuts because that's a lot of volume. And like I had mentioned earlier, 450-ish last year, and I'm almost at 450 this year in July. Well, as of June, but I'd say it's past that now at this point. It's exceeded my wildest dreams. But
Probably in bigger markets, it was more normal 5 years ago. I didn't know anybody doing it in our area.
no.
Even this year, majority of realtors aren't doing it.
No. So here's something to consider. I don't know if you've thought of it like this, but when the economy is doing really well, we do worse. When the economy is doing worse, we do better because you need to advertise. So all companies across the board, you can go back in time and look at these statistics. When people stop spending money in the general public, you have to advertise more to try to sell your products. And that's kind of why we're thriving right now. But just like 2022, when we had saw the real estate boom, we didn't do that much, But 2023, everything started slowing down a little bit. 2024, we're now starting to see it slow down more, right? So you gotta take out all the stops that you could possibly can as a realtor to try to get that in front of somebody's eyes to sell it.
That's so interesting. And you have your finger on the pulse of real estate
Yes.
as much as anybody.
Yeah, I talk to hundreds of realtors, a year, and I always ask all the hard questions and they probably give me a little more information than they would give anybody else. But like, I'm asking them, how's the market? Are you slowing down? Are you working more?
What's
Are
the
you working
sentiment
less?
out there?
It seems to be, it's spotty. So if you go into certain areas, let's use the Red River Gorge, for example. Red River Gorge has a lot of Airbnbs. Airbnb took off. In like 2020, everybody was sitting home. I want to make passive income. Let's buy a house. Let's turn it into an Airbnb. Well, that's since come down because people don't have money anymore. Now they're selling all those Airbnbs, and nobody wants them. Why would they spend $200,000-$300,000 on a small house that's like maybe 800 square feet or less? That doesn't make any sense. It's on a quarter-acre lot. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, but 2 years ago, you were making $5,000 a month with Airbnb.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a few out there that were in it early and they're still able to hang on, because they've probably got the capital to do it. But those people that started like 2021, 2022, those people are falling out of the market right now.
What
and
are you
those
seeing
people are selling.
What are you seeing in other markets that you're really familiar with?
So like I don't do it a lot in Fayette County, but Fayette County is still relatively good. So we've got a lot of people coming in from other states, California, Michigan, Washington, for example. Those people are buying big property, 30 acres, big farms, and then they're adding their whole family to that farm. At least this is what I'm hearing anyway. So anything that's over, say, 400,000, 450, something like that, those are going to out-of-state buyers. So it's kind of an interesting market. But if you look at my generation, I'm 35, so I'm a millennial. We're pretty much in the same boat, me and you. But my generation, the vast majority of us anyway, are at like 250. They're not going over 250. So if a house comes to the market and it's 250, it sells. And that seems to be the sweet spot, London, still pretty good. I don't know about Corbin as much. I don't shoot a lot in Corbin.
We had 20 house sales last month.
Yeah, so not
It's
very good.
It's scary in this market. I wish that I had an easy footing into like the Lexington market, but you kind of have to be there, and I'm an hour away.
Yeah.
So we just don't have any reality where we're going to be in that market.
Yeah. If you look at the history of the economics in America, typically, if we use 2008 as an example, not saying we're there, but if you just use it as an example, when the interest rate started going up, house prices were down. And that's the only way it works. Interest is up, house prices come down. And then it works in reverse. When interest rates are down, house prices can come up. That's when you gain equity, right? But
And the cheaper monthly payment.
Yeah. And the oddest part about this market is we're seeing house prices go up and interest rates go up. You can't have
who knows
both.
what's going on.
Yeah, so you can't have both if it's just artificially held up. I kind of on that line. I don't know for sure if that's what's happening, but for me, I'm in a bubble right now. We're doing well, but 5 years, 2, 3, 4 or 5 years down the road, I don't know.
I'm bad at predicting success.
Yeah,
but it seems like you guys have made such a reputation for yourselves.
we have
that you're. I would never say you're economy proof, but when you have such a good product and I think it's priced well,
Yeah.
you guys aren't going to starve to death.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. And my personal lifestyle, I base it off of way less than what I make. So anything extra is just investment money for me. So
You're not married to the photography anyway. You
No.
see where content creation is going, and
Yeah.
you're going to provide that service to these businesses
correct.
that don't
Yeah.
know where to start.
Correct. Yeah. So real estate is just one little tiny fraction of what we can do as a medium product. As in my company, for instance, and I know Ben does it too. But we could completely break off of real estate and move to a whole new sector in like no time. The problem is if you don't really have anything to show, then it's harder to move that way. But you could still do it. You just the old saying of if you're hungry enough, you'll go find something to eat.
Right.
It works the same way. So I'm not naive in the fact that it could end tomorrow. But I'm trying to think, like we had mentioned, like you'd asked me my 5-year plan. I'm trying to think, will media be here in the next 5 years? I think so. I think the next 10, maybe 15 or 20 years. That puts me in my 50s,
And you
If
have
I
all the
see-
fancy equipment and all the
Yeah.
experience. I mean, you probably do whatever you want.
Yeah, and that's something else. And you mentioned the equipment. A lot of people have a misconception that you have to have a $10,000 camera
That's
to
what
make
I
a good
think.
image. You don't, though. You can make a good image out of like an iPhone if you know how to use light, right? And some like the FX3 and FX30, you can get $2,000 or $3,000. FX30 is a $1,500 camera. FX30 or 3 is like a $4,000 camera.
We're talking just about the body.
Just the body, yeah. Wish I'd have known all this when I was, younger and got started in this because I would have just went this route. But like the C70 has a dual stack sensor. One sensor handles your shadows, just like we were talking about earlier, and one handles your highlights and combines that together in one image, which is phenomenal. But that's like a $5,000 camera. So
I mean, you knew when you're starting out, you would travel down some dead ends technology-wise.
I spent so much money on stupid, useless stuff. So much money. I'd probably put it in the tens of thousands of dollars.
When I knew that I needed to do more media production, you put together my Amazon checklist and just sent it to me. I'm like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, but I knew you were 5 years down the road from me,
right?
And you saved me so much headache.
Yeah, because you could have went down a rabbit hole of deception, and
I'm good at that. I'm good at going down those rabbit holes.
Well, sure, yeah, we all are. But if you know somebody that's an expert in that field, just ask. It doesn't hurt to ask, and I don't care to help anybody out.
You were very like the day it came, you drove down and helped me set up everything.
Yeah, and it's working great. The audio is fantastic. I mean, we've had trouble with cameras, obviously, but that can be ironed out with time.
Yeah.
And
this is functionally my fourth podcast in this setup, and every time I do something a little different to see if I like the end product better.
Right.
More lighting, less lighting, and
it's all trial and error.
And
really.
so, probably episode 10, I'll have everything ironed out. And I had a good foundation from my other studio, so I knew certain things I liked about lighting and positioning of the cameras. Is there anything else going on that you need to tell the folks before we wrap it up?
I will say this. I see a lot of people trying to start in media. They want to be photographers and they want to be videographers.
I get Facebook just cold call messages being like, hey, will you take my stuff out, see if you can work with me?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people, especially younger people, that want to do it. My advice is this. If you're young and you want to get into it, you need to keep in mind, if you want to own a business, you're going to have to work a lot. And I'm not saying that, everybody's not motivated or anything like that, but you have to work a lot. My average day is 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. I don't see my family as much. I'm not home much, but I make good money. So there's a sacrifice somewhere. The problem where most people, if you can get to the motivation stage and you're motivated and you're working and you're making good money, the second thing to remember is don't go buy a bunch of stupid stuff. Most people, they go out and they buy like these big fancy trucks and cars and, you're not
even talking about equipment. You're talking about just lifestyle.
Other stuff, yeah. So let's say you're making $2,000 a week. That's what, 2, 4, 6, that's $8,000 a month. That's good money. That's $90,000 a year, roughly. If you can make $8,000 or $90,000 a year, most people, they're going to go out and they're going to buy like a $100,000 car, buy a $300,000 house. And then what happens 2 years down the road when everything collapses? You've lost that. It's all gone. So if you take that money and reinvest it in something else that's going to help you grow your business, like an editor, for example, on my end, a cam op, audio, whatever. That's just my business. Everybody's business is different. But that'd be my advice for anybody that's wanting to start. You're going to work a lot. Don't spend all your money on crazy foolishness. And I think if you've got the motivation, you can do it.
Well, I'm sure I'll have you on more times, at least once a season.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming down and joining me on the podcast.
Absolutely, not a problem.
All right, guys, it's been another episode of the PropertyTales podcast. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.